Federal government stands on Amotekun Southwest Security Initiative gets reaction from the governors of the region and eminent Nigerians. We dissect the implication of FG stance on declaring Amotekun illegal. And the presidency has spoken on the remembrance of the Nigerian Civil War, which ended 1970. 50 years ago, President Buhari today is asking leaders in the country to moderate their language and not to make the mistakes of the past. Hello everyone and welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimbalo at Channels Television's global headquarters in Lagos. It's Wednesday and we're bringing you a 1 hour edition of the program. It's fully packed and we're going to be dissecting some of the major stories in the land, politically speaking, of course. Let's begin by telling you that the Supreme Court judgment of yesterday is still getting reactions. And today, Mr. Akeredolu, the candidate of the PDP, was now become a former governor, has reacted. In a statement from his office, Mr. Akeredolu says the Supreme Court verdict came to him as a rude shock. In his words, he says, and I quote, "I think it is unfair, unjust, and does not reflect the voting that took place during the elections. It also did not take care of the sensibilities of the people of Imo State. But as true Democrats, Engineer Gerard Irona and I have no option but to respect the outcome of that judgment. Consequently, we have put machinery in motion to hand over the reins of office to the APC candidate as the next governor of Imo State. I shall not be party to pilfering of government property or funds." End of quote. Those are the words of Akeredolu. Meanwhile, Senator Hope Uzodinma of the All Progressive Congress has officially received a certificate of return as the governor of Imo State from the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. He becomes governor-elect after the Supreme Court nullified the election of Akeredolu and declared him winner of March 9th, 2019 governorship election.
The wish and the mandate of our people, the people of Imo State, who came out and voted for our great party, APC, and myself for this election, that at the end of the day, their wishes have been acknowledged and be recognized. So we owe this victory to Almighty God. We owe it to functional judiciary. The Supreme Court used the eagle eye of the law and they gave us justice. So we thank God that today we have justice.
The man you just heard there, Senator Uzodinma, has already swung into action following his victory at the Supreme Court on Tuesday. In a letter, he has ordered the immediate freezing of all Imo State government accounts. The letter sent through the director of his campaign organization and addressed to the regional directors, managers of all financial institutions operating in the state was captioned, quote, "Order of post, no debt bid on the account of Imo State government of effective immediately January the 14th, 2020. Let's go into some hardcore internal politics to Edo State now, where the blame game over the leadership crisis rocking the party's APC in Edo State is taking another turn, with the deputy governor, Mr. Philip Shaibu, calling the national chairman of the APC, Mr. Adams Oshomole, a bad role model to the younger ones in the party. Mr. Shaibu, who was speaking at a caucus meeting in Benin City, the Edo State capital, believes that insincerity on the part of some leaders in the party displays the party's hierarchy is responsible for the current imbroglio rocking the APC in Edo State.
Role models should be those that when you are known for something, you must be known from scratch to death that you are known to be a straight man or a straight woman. Not role models where you deceive people to accepting what you think they want to achieve. And by the time you use them to get it, when it is time to show your real color, you talk in the opposite direction. Those are not role models. I remember Comrade Adams Oshomole told me that he believed in second term, that he does not believe that even 4 years is enough for somebody to do what he has to do to make a difference. And Edo people listened, and we gave him second term. Today, when it was time for Honorable Demia to go for second term, one of the best legislators we have in the 6th Assembly, the language changed. The language changed. Practice what you preach.
Well, interesting scenario is playing out in Edo State, where elections are just a few months away. Let's now check some other stories we're following for you on our political roundup. We'll be back to discuss Amotekun and the implications of the federal government's stance on declaring that initiative illegal.
President Muhammadu Buhari led other dignitaries to pay respects to men and women of the armed forces who paid the supreme price in defense of the country. The yearly Army Day celebration for 2020 coincides with the 50th anniversary since the end of Nigeria's civil war. Members of the Nigerian Legion and widows of the fallen heroes, however, asked that the country takes better care of them. Wreaths were laid in honor of the departed at the National Arcade in Abuja. Justice Abiodun Adebayo of the Ilorin High Court has appealed to all parties involved in the demolition of the controversial Ile-Arugbo property in Ilorin to maintain the peace and try to settle the matter amicably and, if possible, out of court. The judge, however, adjourned the hearing on all pending applications on the matter till January the 24th. Governor Bubakar Bello of Niger State says payment of 30,000 naira new minimum wage to civil servants in the state will commence this January. He, however, says the state government may not be able to make consequential adjustment in salaries of all civil servants at the moment, as it has not enough resources to do so. According to him, the government currently uses 80% of its income to pay salaries of 27,000 civil servants, where there are over 4 million population in the state. He explains that if the government decides to implement consequential increment in salaries, it will not be able to do anything for all the citizens.
At the moment, our top priority is to address those that have been affected directly by the minimum wage. And what it means, anyone below minimum wage should enjoy the new minimum wage policy.
Well, today, the president, alongside eminent Nigerians, paid respect to the nation's fallen heroes. But he has warned that we must be careful as a people in the use of language to avoid a repeat of the mistakes of the past. The presidency, in a statement today, says, and I quote, "The war serves as a potent warning on the dangers of aggressive regionalism, ethnic baiting, and political corruption. In it, we must forge common memory that can serve as a bridge to a future free from the ravages of sectarianism." He says, "We remember the past to draw its lessons and how we move forward together and live in peace. Unfortunately, there are some who fail to recognize them and instead repeat its mistakes, preaching inflammatory rhetoric meant only to divide. We call on all leaders and parties to moderate their language." And to amend your conversation for tonight, everyone, brace up and get a seat. Get a cup of coffee, if you may, this time around, and let it sink in what the Amotekun issue is all about, the stance of the federal government, and the way forward. Tonight, we'll discuss that. The federal government declaration of the Operation Amotekun, the regional security initiative of states in the Southwest, as illegal, is generating reactions. Governors of Southwestern said last week, Thursday, January the 9th, inaugurated a regional security outfit in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, to complement the work of the police. According to a statement today, it was yesterday now, from the office of the Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, the setting up of the outfit runs contrary to the provisions of the Nigerian law. The statement says, quote, "The Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended has established the Army, Navy, and Air Force, including the police and other numerous paramilitary organizations for the purpose of the defense of Nigeria. As a consequence of this, No state government, whether singly or in a group, has the legal right and competence to establish any form of organization or agencies for the defense of Nigeria or any of its constituent parts. The AGF also notes that the Office of the Attorney General and Minister of Justice was not consulted on the matter, where reactions are already trailing the federal government's position on that initiative. Let's get some legal views on this one. Tonight, we invited the Attorney General of the Federation. Of course, we got response, and we had a delegation that is supposed to be on the program from the Office of the Attorney General, who said that this initiative is illegal. They agreed to come. A senior official at the Office of the AGF agreed to come on the program. At the last minute, they pulled out. We hope that if they change their mind, they might be able to come and state the position of the federal government and defend some of what they meant by the illegality of Amotekun. But we shall move on the program and get some legal point of view on this one. First, let me speak to the senior advocate of Nigeria rights activist, Mr. Falana, who joins us from GRA Ikeja in Lagos. Thank you so much, Mr. Falana, for coming on the program. Let's get some clarity, legally speaking. The federal government says Amotekun is illegal. From the point of view of the law and the Constitution, as quoted from the AGF office, what is your perspective and what your view is? What is your view?
Well, as far as the law is concerned, I want to believe that the Attorney General of the federal government, Mr. Abubakar Malami, had his mind on Section 227 of the Constitution, which has prohibited the setting up of paramilitary organizations to harass political opponents, in the country. But there is no provision of the Constitution that has prohibited the setting up of a security outfit to protect the life and property of everybody living in Nigeria. In this case, the statement credited to the Attorney General of the federal government is clearly diversionary and hypocritical. Hypocritical in the sense that the governments of Kano and Zamfara states have set up the Hisbah Commission. And just recently, the Hisbah operatives in Zamfara State arrested a police officer alleged to have been caught in the midst of 3 women. In northeastern zone, you have the civilian JTF made up of 26,000 volunteers armed to assist the military in waging the counter-insurgency operations. Lagos State has the neighborhood watch created by law, which is working and assisting the police to address security challenge in the state. And there are other initiatives in other parts of the country. One is therefore disturbed. The Attorney General of the federal government can say that his legal opinion was not sought. There is no constitutional nexus between the Attorney General of the federal government and the state government, or any of the state governments in the country. Each of the state governments has its own Attorney General. It's actually a misnomer, a carryover from the military to talk about Attorney General of the Federation. It's the Attorney General of the federal government in Abuja, while each of the state government has, an Attorney General to advise the governor. So I want to believe that there is a problem here. Secondly, Section 214 of the Constitution has established only one Nigerian
Mr. Falana, apologies, please. Let me quickly butt in. Please permit me. Because of network issues, we tried to get across to the chairman of the Southwest Governors Forum. Those who are the governors of the Southwest are the ones who brought up this initiative. And we have the chairman of the Southwest Governors Forum, Mr. Rotimi Akeredolu, who joins us from Akure, Ondo State now. Thank you so much, Governor Akeredolu, for joining us on Channels Television at this time. Now, let's get the official reaction from your office as the chairman of the Southwest Governors Forum. What the Attorney General has said and declaring Amotekun is illegal. What is the position of the Southwest Governors on this?
Well, I'd given an answer to this yesterday. The Southwest governors are yet to meet, and we're going to have a meeting very soon, and we'll respond to what the Attorney General said. But in the interim, what
We're having difficulties with network. We will get back as soon as we're able to establish a stronger connection. But in the meantime, let me get back to Mr. Falana. Apologies for butting in. Let me allow you to continue on that line of thought. I actually came into that conversation because of the network issue. We can't get you live on satellite, which makes us feel happy about the conversation and clarity. Let's get back to the conversation now, Mr. Falana. You were saying a second point. You were making a second point. Please continue.
That Section 214 of the Constitution provides for the establishment of only one police force in the country. But in violation of that provision by the federal government, and I'm not talking of the Buhari administration alone, since 2003, under the Obasanjo administration, we've had the Nigerian Defense and Security Corps, which is a police force. It's not transferable to the Inspector General of Police. Secondly, we have the State Security Service. It's another police force. Its officials have uniforms, just like the Nigerian Defense and Security Corps. Other agencies, Nigeria Customs Service, EFCC, ICPC, Nigeria Correctional Service, Nigeria Customs Service, and others, have also been authorized by the federal government to bear arms. So, if the federal government has breached the provision of the Constitution, it lacks the moral right. It lacks the moral right to ask state government not to establish security outfits to defend the people that the police cannot protect in the country. Thirdly, there are decisions of our courts, of the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court, that have upheld the rights of governors to maintain law and order in their respective states.
Therefore, I understand. Apologies again. I understand that we have Governor Akeredolu back online. And let's get back quickly for sake of internet connection. Governor Akeredolu, thankfully, we have you back now. Can you please continue? Because you got started to say you and your colleagues have not met. In the interim, what is the position of the Southwest governors?
Well, in the interim, the point I've made very clearly is that, well, the point I've made very clearly is that for now, our attorneys can react to what the Federal Attorney General said, because we leave them to that. Attorney to attorney on issue of law, we can trash that out. But when we meet, we'll come out with our position.
But as it stands right now, are you standing down? Because when the federal government declares such an outfit is as illegal, it does give a subtle language of prescription. Are you standing down on the operations of Amotekun momentarily?
No. See, what really, if the Federal Attorney General made a statement, we will not go and say we want to be confrontational. But after a meeting, we will take decisions as to what we will do. We don't want any confrontation as such, but we know that it is not in place of the Federal Attorney General, it does not interpret laws. It is for the court.
Okay, we'll take a breather. Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, is giving us legal perspective and breaking it down for us to understand the implications of the decision of the federal government. We're also speaking with the chairman of the Southwest Governors Forum on the Amotekun Security Initiative. We will also hear from an expert former police officer on what this means for the nation. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone, and let's get back to the conversation straight away. We have talking to us from Akure, Ondo State, the chairman of the Southwest Governors Forum, Mr. Rotimi Akeredolu, and we also have Senior Advocate of Nigeria rights activist, Mr. Femi Falana. Thank you so much for your time tonight, Mr. Falana. Let me get quickly back to Governor Akeredolu. We hope we don't lose you this time around because of internet connection. But give us an understanding of what this means for the Southwest State, because there have been also comments that perhaps there should have been some legal consolidation of that initiative before you kicked off. Did you consider it? And as a senior advocate of Nigeria, it's also established that policing is on the exclusive legislative list in Nigeria's constitution. What are your views?
No, it's so clear that what is being thrown out to the public is a total misinterpretation of the provisions of the Constitution. The Constitution is clear. We are elected as governors to protect our people and their security of lives and properties. And that's why we are even the chief security officer in the state. So if there is any need, it's for us to determine. And we are not complaining about cost. It is for us to determine about what we want to do for our people. And we have taken that decision. Amotekun is going to go ahead. But as I said, we'll meet and get back to you, and the public will get to know our position. It is for us. The Constitution does not prohibit us from doing what we are doing. And we do not necessarily have to go and now promulgate a law or have a law passed. But we must start, we are going to do what this. Look, let me give you an example. This started with FRSC. It started in Oyo, Federal Safety Corps. It started in Oyo, and this was going on with presidential assistant and co before the federal government took it over. So it is a thing that I'm sure at the end of the day, people will still come over to believe that, look, this community policing or vigilante, I mean, there are so many vigilante groups here. ISBAB is there in the north. There's so many of these that are there. So I don't see how anybody can now sit down anywhere and say this is illegal. We do not agree with the Attorney General, and anyway cannot make law in his own chambers there. So if he believes strongly in what he's doing, let him go to court. Or if he believes strongly, let him issue a notice to that effect. And I'm sure that when we meet, we'll decide what to do.
Let me ask you, did the governors of the Southwest consult with President Buhari? And with the benefit of hindsight, do you think you should have consulted with the Attorney General of the Federation before you went ahead with Amotekun?
No, I do not believe we had to consult with the Attorney General of the Federation. No. We consulted with, we have security officers, we have Commissioner of Police who are with us. We discussed this at security level in all the states. So it's not something that is hidden. So the state decided what they wanted to do. Look, we cannot, don't overstress this, what we call national, when everybody believes that we are under one stream. We are subnational of Nigeria. So for us, there are many things. That is why the Constitution is clear on what the state can do. So for us as governors, we are not running a unitary system of government. This is a federal government. And the federative unit remains the state. So the states have powers, and just as the federal government has powers. But with what we have now, we will discuss this matter, and I'm sure it will be settled.
I mean, the other leg of that question is whether or not the governors of the Southwest had a conversation with President Buhari over the Amotekun before you went ahead. Did you hint him, the governors hint the president as the chief security officer of the land?
No, I've made this clear. We are chief security officers of our own state. And we are running a federal system. For God's sake, we cannot continue this way, that every other thing you must run to the federal before you take decision. No. We should be able to take decision on our own. We are running a federal institution. So all this is BAB and co they have in the north. So it has the implement of a president for them to do it. I don't believe this is the case. We are not here to flex muscles, but what we are saying is that let us respect the federalism which all of us have signed up to. So we are not running a unitary system. I do not see what we have done, anything wrong in what we have done. It is not against the law, but if it is a contention and they believe in it, then we'll try it in court.
But, aside trying it in court, do you see a possibility of a political way of resolving the standoff or the differences between the federal government and the states?
No, I'm sure, but as I said if they insist, but I'm sure they will not insist. I'm so convinced that we will have this matter resolved in the next 1 or 2 weeks. Maybe we are lucky the federal government, the 6 states here, 5 of them were in the same political party. So we should be able to resolve this. It's just that the Attorney General did not, I mean, let me not use harsh words. He should have been circumspect in his utterances, particularly to say that we are running an illegal organization or that it's a paramilitary. How did he come about that? Where did he see that? So it's not fair. But we will look for political solution, as you have said, and I'm sure it will be resolved finally. But if political solution does not come, we will look for legal solution. We should not run away from anything. We are not ruling out anything.
Perhaps on a final note, before we allow you go, Governor Akeredolu, is on the operations of Amotekun itself, with a lot of fears that people have come up with when it was set up. The operandi of Amotekun and the fears of it being used for otherwise purposes as it was set up for. What are your reactions on what people feared the most on Amotekun?
But I don't know what their fears are. They should have allowed the Amotekun to start operation and see if it's misused. In my speech and the speeches of other governors at the launch of Amotekun, we made it clear. For instance, we are not going to allow use of Amotekun for political purposes. It would not be found in any political arena or involved in anything of that nature. At the end of the day, most of the activities of Amotekun are going to be in a forest. That is the fact thing that people don't understand. We say people come, kidnap, they run to the forest. The police say their work is not in the forest, except 1 or 2 teams. They have KRE team that is operating. It cannot cover the whole country. And we say, look, we could have our hunters, we could have our vigilantes who know this terrain, and they will go into the forest and be able to protect our people. This is what we said is complementary. We wanted to complement the efforts of the Nigerian police. Do they have the wherewithal? They are overstretched. All of us know. I'm here. We know what to do for the police. They are overstretched. I'm saying, look, let us complement this. And that let us now involve our traditional people, the hunters, the OPC and co, who know, they know the terrain very well. So they can go into our forest and co and save our people. Not more than that.
Governor Rotimi Akeredolu, chairman of the Southwest Governors Forum and the governor of Ondo, said, many thanks for your time tonight and clarifying some of these issues for us. Thank you so much for coming on the program tonight. Let's get back to rights activist and senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Femi Falana. So you heard what Governor Akeredolu has said, who is the representative and at the head of the Southwest Governors Forum in the region. From what he has said tonight, Let me get your view on the perspectives that the governors have and that of the AGF.
Well, I think it is important to make this point abundantly clear. Before the official launch of Amotekun last week, the federal government expressed some concern, and there was a meeting held between the Inspector General of Police and the representative of the governors, Governor Kayode Fayemi of Ekiti State. At the end of the meeting, it was announced that the federal government, through the Inspector General of Police, had ratified the security initiative. That's not been denied. And by virtue of Section 318 of the Constitution, the government of Nigeria is defined to include the federal government, the state government, local government, or an official of the government. To that extent, the Inspector General of Police has spoken for the federal government. The Attorney General of the Federation cannot, he doesn't have the power to declare any organization illegal in Nigeria. If he's convinced that Amotekun is illegal, he has to go to court. On the part of the Southwest governors as well, they will need, each of the state governor will need to approach the House of Assembly to enact a law defining the operations, a law for the establishment, for the funding of Amotekun, just like you have the Neighborhood Watch law in Lagos State. That's my position on this matter. And please get it very clear. Policing is not in the exclusive legislative list. That is not correct. Under the Constitution, there shall be a Nigerian Police Council. There is no commander-in-chief of the police force. You have the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Police powers are to be jointly shared by the federal government and the state government. In other words, if you look at Schedule 7 of the Constitution, the membership of the Police Council, Section 2153 and the 7th Schedule stipulate that the president shall be the chairman of the Nigerian Police Council. The other two representatives of the federal government are the Inspector General of Police and the chairman of the Police Council. The other 36 members are the 36 state governors. In other words, the Nigerian Police Council is a 39-member body, which has only 3 members from the federal government. That body shall supervise, organize, and administer the Nigerian police force. So that is the body. For instance, Section 216 of the Constitution provides that before the appointment or removal of an Inspector General of Police, that body shall be consulted by the president. So you cannot say, therefore, that police powers are the exclusive preserve of the federal government or of the president. So policing is not in the exclusive list. Get that very clear. So the Attorney General is not right there. It's a power to be shared. Police powers are to be shared by the president and the state government. Unfortunately, since 1999, the governors have abdicated police powers to the federal government, to the president. Hence, the meetings, unlike other federal executive bodies, the meetings of the Nigerian Police Council are not held regularly. Hence, have just gone to court to compel the governors to requisition the regular meetings of that body to discuss the security of Nigeria from time to time. Just like the president summons the meetings of the security chiefs. I'm talking of armed forces from time to time. The governors and the president in the National Nigerian Police Council also have the right to summon the Inspector General of Police from time to time. How are you policing the country? That is the law.
So, Mr. Falana, as it stands right now, with the declaration or the statement from the Attorney General's office, which says, look, they do not have the right and declared illegal. Going forward from here, you're giving your opinion on what you think that the state governors should do. They should go back to the House of Assembly and make a law. But a lot of people will say we're not operating a regional system of government, which of course there needs to be a binding if this is a regional initiative. Is there any lacuna there in the law which perhaps could protect a regionalism, a concept of regionalism in any operation?
Sheung, the Attorney General of the federal government, Mr. Abubakar Malami SN, has no powers whatsoever to prescribe any organization in Nigeria. Even in prescribing the IPOB or the Islamic movement in Nigeria, the federal government had to approach the court. So the statement credited to the Attorney General with profound respect cannot have the force of law. What should therefore be done in this circumstance is for the governors, if the federal government is not prepared to test the constitutional validity of Amotekun, the governors should also approach the Supreme Court. But let me also say this. Individuals in Nigeria have the right to approach the Inspector General of Police or the President for a license. Individuals can approach the President for licenses to bear arms to protect themselves and their family members. If that can be done by an individual, what stops a governor from approaching the federal government? I want 5,000 licenses for young men and women to defend 20 million people in my state, like Lagos. So I think this Amotekun debate provides an opportunity for us to go back to the drawing table, examine the relevant provisions of the Constitution, and see how we can defend everybody in this country. For me, in a country where armed gangs, terrorists, kidnappers, and others, armed robbers, have taken over the monopoly of violence, the state has virtually collapsed. Therefore, the federal government lacks the moral or the political right to say that governors or state government cannot think outside the box in protecting their people. On the part of the Southwest governors, they will still also need to go back to the drawing table and enact relevant laws stipulating the operations of this body, the funding, and to make it clear to all and sundry that this body is out to collaborate, to cooperate with the police to defend the people in the region. No more, no less.
Mr. Falana, in just about a minute or less, we are going on another break, a commercial break. But give us an understanding of what this all means altogether. You've given a breakdown of what the law says and what the government of these regions must do. But in the real sense of it, HISBA, like you mentioned, and other initiatives, are they backed by law in their own operations also? Is it similar to Amotekun? Just in less than a minute, Mr. Falana, because we need to go on break.
No, the concept is backed by law. The concept to defend yourself because I have a right to self-defense. And individuals in this country have private security organizations defending them. Estates are being defended by vigilante groups and others. There are security outfits, private security outfits in the country operating to defend people, to guide property. So you cannot say that a regional attempt at defending a people is illegal. Section 33 of our Constitution has guaranteed the right to life. If the federal government cannot guarantee that life, I have the right, under the same section, to adopt adequate measures to defend myself. If my government will do it for me, so be it. Whoever does not like that, whoever says that is illegal, is the one that will have to go to court.
Okay, let's take a break there, everyone. Get a cup of water, sing that in, and when we come back, we look yet on another angle, the technicalities of it, the professional in terms of security handling of this matter, and Mr. Falana will give us his closing moment on the program. Join us again, everyone.